and those are still relevant. But what has changed is the level at which the performance is expected has changed since then. So that is the one big thing we'll have to recognize. We were very different from the people who were in the organizations when we started our career. And hence the people today who are coming into the companies or corporate world are very different from what we were. We recognize that, we factor that in and really continue to remain relevant. In terms of skills, I'll say definitely skilling and upskilling is something which is a continuous process, but with the current kind of context which has come into the country, and bear in mind, India is something which is every fourth person entering the workforce is coming from this country. We are one of the youngest countries in the world, and if you go by all the projections, it is also, we are already are going to be the fastest growing economy. And that is one more dimension we need to factor in. And we need to, whatever worked in the past, it was absolutely relevant. And whilst I said the fundamentals don't change, whatever will work today and tomorrow will definitely be something different from what has worked yesterday.
Right, right. Thank you so much, Shrikant. I think I'll pick up the last point which you just mentioned. So we had kind of mixed reaction. Shiva actually came out. Shiva thought, Shiva didn't. But I think this makes the discussion much more healthier, because few of us are believing that reskilling and upskilling is critical. Few of us are thinking that it was always there. What is so new? Why are so much of research and so much of analytics being played around with that? The last point which you made about the India being the youngest country, and on one hand we are the youngest country in the world. I was discussing this with Yogi the other day. The second youngest is Brazil. What it brings is different sets of challenge. On one hand we are youngest, on the other hand we are very fast growing economy. I'm very optimistic it's going to be really much better. So what does it do to organizations? It does 2 or 3 things. First, organizations are becoming far more global than they were few years back. Second, younger stars are taking higher leadership role than what they were. The growth rate or moving the leadership pipeline is becoming much faster. So the competencies and the capabilities required are completely changing. So do you all think that this is going to be looked at differently by HR folks, or do you think we've been doing it in this particular manner for some time? So Yogi, you don't get the first chance this time. Well, let's start with Shrikant first, and then we'll go this way around.
See, we went through 2008-9, all of us know what happened and some of the terrible years that have gone by. But I think all of us have forgotten what happened in 2006. The economy grew at a rate which was almost close to double digit. And what we realized is that the skills which were required at that point of time, I'm not talking only HR, I'm talking of running the organizations, skills, competencies, experiences required, they were evaporating faster than whatever we were able to put in place. And particularly organizations like us who grow our own timber, it was definitely far more difficult. We reached an attrition levels which were absolutely maddening. The guy was leaving, his boss was leaving, the boss's boss was also leaving. So those are the kind of things which we saw in 2006, but the terrible times we saw after that have made us quickly forget about what happened in 2006. And something, if we are reaching that point of time, in fact I heard somebody say, Ram Charan saying that, look, I am very happy with 6 or 7% because 10% is something which is very difficult to manage, you know, in terms of the country's growth. But I definitely see that this country is meant for something really big. And I do see that this is a time when India's time has come. We would occupy our, the right place on the global stage that we always deserve to have. And I would also say that at least a dozen or 2 dozen companies from India will be amongst the top 100. and definitely I like to see mine over there. So that's a fact. Does it change the game? I think it does. And it changes the game dramatically. Whatever we need to do, we'll have to really up our game. Because I was fine wearing winning a tournament in my Gully Mohalla. I was fine to win in district. I was fine to win in my state. I was perhaps fine even to win my country. But when we are really in Olympics, it's another game. So we will have to really scale it up. And I'm not talking only HR. I'm telling you, really have to really pull up our game to another level. That's what is my context.
Right. Thanks, Shrikant. So we are hearing you say scaling up, not just for HR, but for others also. So Ram, actually, you made a very interesting point, and even we've been hearing that. I think Yogi also talked about the close similarity between the Gen Y and the baby boomers. You have a lot of young people working for you. I'm not sure how the attrition and engagement are, but do you think and moreover, more and more Gen Y population is going to enter, especially the service industry. So do you think that the HR is looking at this differently? Are the policies going to be different? Is it something which you all are consciously working on?
Again, let me make a few points here, right? I'll come back to the Gen Y business a little later. So what is fundamentally happening? Don't look at it through the frame of HR. Once you look at it through the frame of HR, our perspectives will be very narrow. Look at it from the frame of economy, and then look at it from the frame of business. Then HR or marketing or finance and all, we can plug and play thereafter. Fundamentally, you play a game of cricket or a game of football, right? The field doesn't change. 11 players only play. Penalty is a penalty, offside is an offside. Sometimes rules change. If it's AstroTurf come, if it's hockey, right? So look at it in a broader perspective. Don't zoom in. I say that, I always say, if somebody fields in first slip, he does not say in cricket that he's a first slipper, right? If somebody is playing forward, right, if he is backtracking, he will stop the ball in the goal also. And if a goalkeeper gets an opportunity, he will still goal in the front also. So don't get this entirely identity-stricken, role-stricken, I am HR, I am marketing. I certainly believe it constricts you from playing in your game in a proper manner in your own organization. You're a dil ko lage khelo, right? Whatever position the captain asks you to play, go and play, right? And play it as well as you can. That's the best way to play the game. Okay, that's one large. Don't get caught with this HR trap or marketing trap or any other trap. We are not HR people. I'm Ram Kumar. I'm not an HR person to start with. Second, I'm a professional. Yeah, right now my captain asks me to play a particular position. I'm playing it. Right, I'll play according to the need of the team. So that's first point. So if you look at the bigger perspective, what is happening in the world today and what is happening in the world? The physical world is shrinking and the digital world is expanding. Is this the death of the physical world? No. There will be the physical world and there will be the digital world. So businesses have to start thinking, how do I do this when the world is transiting? Because the customer, the processes, the world is moving into the digital space. When you're moving into the digital space, as a business you cannot say, obviously pizza cannot be made in a digital world, but pizza will be ordered in a digital world and pizza will be tracked in a digital world if you are a smoking Joe. So look at that frame and then say, in this frame, for example, branch is a dead concept for the banks. We will have to start moving to this is the bank. Right? If this is the bank today, so now we need to start looking at it. How do I create ICICI ready to really have 72,000 people working towards this? What does it take? Programming skills, app skills. So it's not HR skills, organization skills. So am I able to think through it? Am I able to work with my business leaders to really be able to prepare my organizations towards it? So look at that kind of a thing in a broader way. Second, look at a broader economic understanding. I've said it many times, people don't register it, right? If you have a demography like India where a large number of people, where 70% of the people below the 30, and you have a growth rate in excess of 6%, it is impossible to run an organization in anything less than a 15% attrition. We should not be sitting and doing this cuckoo's club, how can I do it, can I do that? It's not possible. right? Opportunities are there, people will go, or you will pay yourself to death and your organization will become bankrupt. You can say that, can I put a punching bag when he's unhappy, we can go and kick the boss there on the punching bag. All this don't work, right? These all sounds nice in this table we can speak. You'll have to then sit in the boardroom and prepare your people to say, look, this is straightforward economics, right? You have, and if it goes to 9% growth, it will go to 30% attrition. We have seen China, we have seen Indonesia, we have seen Brazil, we have seen Russia. Right? We have, every fast-growing economy has gone through this with the young people. So if you are a fast-growing economy, but a country with 50 years average age, your attrition will be 3%. Or you have to be a 2% growing economy with a young population. So we have to understand this economics. Third, a consulting firm will publish and say that 15% increase everybody is going to give. Now, the HR person takes it into the boardroom and presents it and say, "Mera company ko bhi 15% increase dena hai." And that is the HR person I have a problem with. You'll have to be able to sit down and say, what is your cost economics? What's your OPEX which the business can take? And then be able to tell your boardroom by saying, give a 7% increase. And if the average attrition is 15%, we'll find a way to keep it there. Don't worry about it. You don't have to pay 15%. Poor HR person is one who goes and says, you give me 18% and I'll keep people, then what are you doing then? Why do I need you? You've done nothing, right? So, bottom line is, these are the changes we should be doing. It's more a perspective change rather than a skill change. If we can work on that, we will work. Now coming quickly to this Gen Y, Gen X, I'm not a believer in it. At the end of the day, I think for 4,500 years of civilized world, every cycle of 40, 50 years have created Gen Ys. So it's a life stage issue which the world has seen about 200, 250 times in the world. So all that we need to say is that if you find yourself as an organization of young people, their needs are likely to be of one kind, but you should remember, along with it, they will age. I've seen it in the last 15 years in ICICI. As they are aging, my organization is not anymore a 27 average age. My organization has already become a 32 average age. So, am I now generally saying India is a 27-year-old people, so I will run ICICI like that? I should be perceptive enough to understand my organization has moved from the 25, 27 to 32-year, 35-year block. Their life stage requirements are different. Their perspectives are different. So, my policies and my manner of engagement have to suit this rather than getting swept by this Gen Y argument. And 5 years later, my organization will further age. And when I suddenly find my organization at a 40-year kind of a thing, then I can't really bring this Gen Y policy and say I have a Gen Y policy to a 40-year-old person. Majority of the people are 40-year-old. Then if you have that kind of a perceptiveness as an HR person, your board will respect you. But if you studied a research paper and walked up and say, they say Gen Y is happening to it, let us also now have coffee day in every floor. Right? And if possible, a marijuana joint on one corner for people to have one, and a little bit of a general freeness. Okay? So they will be very happy. So it is not that everything people ask you give. If you run an organization, that's also good HR. You basically say people ask for certain things, but there is a way of running a business. So we will be able to tell the people why we cannot give this. And when you say that, people don't leave you. I have not seen it happen.
Thank you, Ram. So, always very interesting points. And you do say that the need to look at them might be a little differently, but you don't really have to go and just because someone else is doing something for Gen Y or the other gen, you need not do it in the similar way. Yeah, yeah. Rajiv, you have a very organization which might be probably, I may be wrong, but correct me if I'm wrong, maybe a little more heterogeneous in terms of the population. How is HR coping with the different kinds of generation at different sector of the organization?
Just 1 minute, I want to close that piece on the research piece. My point is that there is a distinct difference between observed data which is collected and on that what kind of credibility you give to a reported data. This is the fundamental principle of research. So if on a reported data, be very, very careful. Even if it is a consumer research, be very careful. There's a lovely book called 10 Commandments to Failure written by Daniel Georg, who was the CEO of Coke. So he says that research told them, Coke was told that if only Coke was little sweeter, more people will buy it. So these people went and changed the formulation and Coke became Pepsi and they lost market share.
Over to you,
Your question was, how do we handle heterogeneity?
In terms of, because it's not just about Gen Y for you, it's you have all different kinds of generations. So do you tweak or mold your policies to or practices for in terms of HR practices for these different generations?
No, I don't think we have different policies for different generations, but I think what we are trying to do is to listen to the voice of our people, to know that generally speaking the old command and control mode is becoming less and less acceptable. People are demanding explanations, they want to know why they are being asked to do what they are being asked to do. They are demanding that leaders walk the talk. They are demanding integrity, they are demanding, thankfully, more connection with society. They are giving a lot of value to values of the organization. So I think that we are just becoming, the younger generation, I believe, is forcing us to recognize these things and thereby become a more mindful organization. But we do not have different policies for different generations. So we don't say that old people cannot work from home. You have to come and work in the office, but young people can work from home. So I think we have a policy which tries to be sensitive to the voice of the people and not get away with firmans and with the old command and control style, which is going completely out of fashion. So this is what I would like to say. We are becoming sensitive, we are listening more, we are trying to be more, have greater integrity in our actions, we are being held more accountable, and we want to, we are being demanded to speak the truth, to show compassion, and to have an attitude of seva. So thank God